Welcome, everybody, to the 2025 International Resilience Summit. Thank you for having me here in this event. I'm going to be talking about diplomacy in chains, a survivor lessons of unbreakable resilience. So, good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me here today. I want to begin with a simple question for you. Have you ever stopped to think how many Americans are currently being held hostage around the world? Let's go quickly over this. Right now, more than 60 U.S. citizens are wrongfully detained overseas. And globally, the number of crimes under hundreds countries as Iran, Venezuela, Russia, China, Afghanistan, Myanmar, North Korea, Cuba are using this brutal tactic that is called the hostage diplomacy as a tool of negotiation and coercion. But for me, this is not just a disturbing trend. This is very personal. My name is Jose Pereira, and I served as a CEO of Citgo Petroleum here in the US, the big oil and gas company that has more than 6,000 gas stations across the US with more than 2,000 uh, kilometers of pipelines and more than 48 terminals all over the US. So I was the CEO of the company. In November 2017, I was ready to get retired after my 35 years of working in that company. And because that company belongs to the Venezuelan government, I thought it was time to get retired. But I was called to a last minute meeting in Caracas, Venezuela. And I traveled to Caracas, Venezuela. And I did a presentation, with a standing ovation. And when I was finishing, I was saying, wow, what a way to finish your career, my friend. 35 years of successful career. You're the CEO of an international company. And now here in this crowd, more than 1,000 people standing ovation because you did a great job. So minutes after, I was taken without no warning, without no warrant, without no reason. 20 guards from the counterintelligence police of that country took me and my other 5 colleagues, and we were accused to be other false charged American spies and have committed treason to the country, and have made corruption, etc., etc., etc. And that's the way I became part of the well-known Citgo 6. That's the name the press put us. And we followed there during the next 5 years of 1,775 days of captivity. So I experienced illness. I suffered a heart attack. I missed birthdays. I missed holidays. And a birth of a grandchild. I was silenced. I was isolated. I was forgotten by the system. And yet in that darkness, I found the light. What helped me survive wasn't just the strength. It was the routine. It was being focused. It was the mindset. It was the resilience. And I woke up each day and gave thanks because I began to have faith. I became a man of God. I began to pray. I was exercising. I was writing. I decided, because I didn't have communication with my wife, no phone communication. My wife was in the US, I was in Venezuela. So I took the risk and I began to write, and I began to smuggle letters in the trash cans that I was sending back, because they began to send me food. There was no food in Venezuela. I lost 100 pounds. I was starving. So they allowed my family to bring us food. It was a very complicated logistic because my son had to move to Colombia, and from Colombia begin to provide food from Venezuela, but that's another story. And I began to smuggle letters, thousands of letters we smuggled during the next 3 years in the false bottom of the trash can, and that's how I got connected to my family. So even when they tried to erase who I was, I reminded myself, I'm still a husband, I'm still a father. I'm still a leader. And most of all, I'm a child of God. There's something powerful about choosing to believe, especially when everything around you says you have to give up. Stick to the routine, stay focused, stay positive, take care of your body, guard your mind, hold fast on your faith, because God never let me down. There's a scripture that carries me through those years. That was the book of Isaiah 43:1. It says, "But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be fainted." I decided to become in that darkness an eagle and get stay to the faith. There was days I couldn't walk. There was days that I couldn't even speak, but I could hope. And in that hope, God gave me the strength to keep going. So resilience, you see, doesn't come through the outside. It comes from the deep inside of you, because that resilience is rooted in the mindset, in your faith. It's rooted in the determination. It's rooted in your hope. It's that unwavering choice to not let your circumstance mark you down. It's that voice inside you that says, I'm not gonna give today. During my final year of captivity, something shifted. There came a U.S. ambassador to visit us, the same man who was negotiating our release with the Venezuelan regime. And after his visit, I felt a strong certainty that in my spirit that my freedom was near. So I called my wife. By the time I had communication, I called my wife here in the U.S. and I asked her to speak to the person that was handling my logistic. And I asked to bring me a small carry-on bag with clothes for more or less 1 week. And she puzzled me and she said, why? And I told her, because I know, I'm convinced we're going to be released. I don't know when, I don't know how, but this is coming. When I received that carry-on, I placed it in a corner of my cell. And every single morning, I look at it and said to it loudly, be ready because you're going to be going with me. That carry-on became my luggage. It became my symbol. It became my anchor of my faith. It was my anchor of my hope. It wasn't just about being ready to walk with a cell with that luggage. It was a message to myself that no matter what, I had the promise that I will go. So there is a deep metaphor that I want to share with you behind this. Because normally we carry on our burdens. It's a heavy luggage that is full with fear, is full with trauma, is full with doubt, and it's full with disappointment. And you carry on in your shoulder. So take it and give it to him. But I learned that you don't have to carry on that by yourselves, because you give that luggage to God. You lay it in his feet, and instead you take your small carry-on. It's a small bag. It's your carry-on. Let the bag represent your dreams. That's your purpose. That's your future. Speak to it, believing in it, prepare for it, and that will create your faith. Every time I said, you're going to go with me, it wasn't just talking to the suitcase. I was affirming my vision. I saw myself free long before it happened. It took 1 year. And 1 year after, one day they opened the door and said, go, that you are gone. So I said to you, don't focus when you are today. Focus where you want to be. So that's what that faith looks like in motion. And I kept saying this until October 2022, the final I went through. So through that, I could experience, I developed what I now call my 4X tool for an unbreakable resilience. What that means, that if you are going to any circumstance in your life, you need to have 4 tools. You need to have the resilience. You need to have the determination. You need to have that adaptability, and you need to have that leadership. Resilience. We're talking here in a summit about resilience. Resilience is that inner decision. It's very deep rooted inside you that will not let you hardship define you. Resilience is that force that says, I will never give up. No matter how much times I fall, I will stand up, and I step up better. I will learn from the failures, and those setbacks will become my comebacks. Because that's what resilience is. That's where you will find that inner force that will unleash your unbreakable resilient spirit. That determination. The determination is that fuel that you have inside, that fuel that keep you moving on. That no matter what is your circumstance, no matter where you're going through, you will always go through it. Because it's that refusal to quit. It's when your spirit is tested, but it's when you say, this is not gonna let me down. I'm not gonna be marked by my circumstance. The other tool is your adaptability. During my captivity, can you imagine how I had to be adapted to the situations? I needed to get adapted to what I was going through. Every day was a changing thing. And that's how life is. You need to get adapted to any circumstance and keep moving. Because that determination will make you keep moving, will give you the gas to move. The resilience will let you stand up, but that adaptability will let you adapt to any situation, will be the ability to pivot without losing your identity. Because even that you are adapting, you know who you are. You stick to your beliefs, that you adapt to the situation. And then comes the leadership. I always did leadership positions. I did 35 years in the oil and gas. I did tons of leadership positions. But that for me was not the true leadership, because the leadership doesn't come from the boardroom, come from the live classrooms. And that's my story. So I want to challenge you. What will happen if you're pushed from your comfort zone? What will happen if your floor begins to shake? What will happen if everything beside you begins to crumble? Where will be your leadership? Because the real leadership is tested when those situations are happening. So that was happened to me. I tested my real leadership during my hostage situation. I needed to learn how to survive. I needed to learn how to adapt. I needed to learn how to get determined, how to get focused, how to maintain myself positive, even in the darkest moment. Because when you're in that dark moment, during the solace of the silence, sometimes the silence can be your worst nightmare, but at the same time can be your best companion. Because now you have chance to be talking to yourself and talking to God and talking to the Holy Spirit, because you have time to repent. You have time to see the picture of your life. You have time to see where you failed and the thing that you will do better when this is finished, because now you're convinced that you're going to be released, because that's what the resilience does. It keeps you stick to that face, that very face, that you're going to be freed no matter what circumstance you're going in your life. Those principles is what makes you the life preserve. And I use it for survival, but you can use it in your life. You can use it in your business. So if you're hearing this, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you that are going through things in life. I'm talking to you that are having struggles in your business. I'm talking to you that are having issues carry on your leadership as a CEO, or in front of your employees or in front of your clients, that you need to believe in yourself, but you need to have not only the resilience, you have to have the determination, the adaptability, and the true leadership. There is a series that I love that is the Chosen. Talks about the life of Jesus. And there is an episode that the other day I was seeing. It was a broken woman that she said after she was released, Jesus told to her, "You are redeemed because you are free." And freedom, my friends, is not the absence of chains. It's the presence of a purpose. You will get free in your life when you find your purpose. So that's what I found after I gained the prison. I found my purpose. When I came home in 2022, I came home in October 2022 after a negotiation of a prisoner swap. That's the way I came home here. I knew that my work was only beginning, and I didn't know what to do with my life. So I went to Washington to give the thanks to the people in the government, in the Congress, and many people that act to get us released. I went to give thanks, and I didn't know that this was happening. That this is something called today the hostage diplomacy. Many Americans going through this situation, and the family totally broken. So I got connected to several foundations that advocate to get people, American, get back. And today I got connected to all of them. I have served alongside those powers organizations, fighting to get released others, advocate, putting my voice. I'm going to mention some of them here. There is the James Foley Legacy Foundation. Wonderful. Their main goal is free journalists all over the world, but they also advocate for all overall hostages going all over the world, U.S. American hostages. There's the Amer Fakuri Foundation, wonderful foundation. It takes the name of the founder, a guy that was releasing after some couple of months. He died. So the family, in honor of him, put that name, the Amer Fakuri Foundation. Hostage Aid Worldwide, wonderful foundation that advocates for hostages all over the world. The Bring Our Family Home campaign, that I'm very proud that my family was one of the founders family of that campaign. It's a family campaign that advocates to bring their family home. The Richardson Center, wonderful center that has the name of the former ambassador Bill Richardson. That he passed, but he left his legacy doing fringe diplomacy to bring people back. Hosted U.S., great foundation also that works and bringing American back. And there are another one of them, Lantos Foundations, House of Freedom, some of them. And there's a special office in the U.S. today, that the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs is called the SPIHA office. It was run by years by the ambassador Roger Carson. Today there's a new ambassador there. And there is an act that today protects the hostage, that is the Robert Levinson Hostage Recovery and Accountability Act, that is the umbrella that protects the hostage. So even though every year they do what they call the Hostage Awareness Week, where all these foundations gather together to amplify the message, to raise awareness, to bring Americans back. This year, this Hostage Awareness Week is going to be done between April 21 to May 2, and are joined by all the hostage family or former hostage survivors like me. And I will be joining there. They're going to do the two wonderful galas, the Foley Foundation Gala and the Hostage U.S. Gala. They're going to unveil a mural in the Georgetown area with the new faces for people that unfortunately are still hostage. I was one of the faces in that mural, in the original mural. And there's going to be also a strategic visit to the SPIHA office in Washington, D.C., because the advocacy is part of my mission. So since I got released, I became like a a global calling for me became an international speaker. I began to talk in conference and I began to be a scholar. So I have been speaking in university, in college. I have been speaking in international conference, in faith-based institutions, in churches. But I also have the privilege. I have been 2 times being in an event that have been hosted during the UN General Assembly during the last 2 years. I also addressed a speech in the House, in the Congress, to address the urgent need to enhance and strengthen the Robertson-Levinson Act. I founded my company called JoseConnect.com. You can go to my webpage called JoseConnect.com, where I coach executives, entrepreneurs, emerging leaders in resilience and servant leadership, and try to help the C-suite to regain balance between their life and their business, their personal fulfillment and their business success. Make a reconnection in their life, because that's what part of my experience. And I today lead an emerging NGO I'm starting called Angels Helping Earth. It's a nonprofit dedicated to help Hispanic immigrants to rebuild their life here in the U.S. after trauma when they come here. I wrote my book that is called From Hero to Villain. It is my true story, but is my reflections. It's a story of pain, purpose, and transformation. And it's the message that today I'm conveying with you about the resilience after any dark situation in your life. And I'm honored that that book became the International Impact Book Award as a best memory this year. So I invite you to connect with me. You can invite me to speak, to spare my message to bring to your organization, your team, and your communities. You can visit me in the jose.com, joseconnect.com, or my email, coachasasurvivor@gmail.com. You can find me in Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. But my final message to you here is that you cannot be a physical hostage, but you can be a mental hostage. Sometimes the mental hostages are even worse than the physical hostage. They can change your body, but they can never imprison your purpose. Find your purpose and will release your mental prisons. You will unlock those chains and you will be freed. When you find your purpose, when you follow your purpose, when you visualize your purpose, even though any situation you're going today, when you decide to see you where you want to be and you get stick to the faith and you walk with the grace of God, you will find your purpose and you will be freed. So resilience is not only a word. It's something that is rooted deeply inside you, but you need to believe in you and you need to believe in Him. And this is a very personal choice. My question to you here today is, are you want to do this or you want to stay where you are today? So thank you very much for hearing me. Thank you, the World Resilience Summit, to having me here. And again, if you want to connect with me, JoseConnect.com. I'm here to tell you that I'm a life testament, a life testimony, that even if you have gone to any dark situation in life, you can always survive. You can always overcome it because you have that internal, unbreakable leadership spirit inside you. But what we have to do is unleash it with the help of Him. Thank you very much for here.